I'm Michael.
I'm John.
And I'm Andrew. Welcome back to Toy Rewind. We are doing a deep dive this week into some of our favorite board games, specifically Parker Brothers, and talking about the way that these basically shaped our childhoods. We played a lot of board games between the three of us, and big on Monopoly, big on Clue, big on all these that we're going to talk about. But we're going to do a deep dive on Parker Brothers and how these games kind of got started and everything. But before we get into it too much, John, give us a quick update on our socials.
Alrighty, so Instagram and Twitter at Toy Rewind Pod. You can join our Facebook group and join in the conversation there. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Toy Rewind Pod. You can also check out our Toy Box showcases on both Facebook and Twitch. And they're also going to our YouTube channel, which we're working on getting all that set up and going like that. So you can check out all the lives there too. You can email us, toyrewindpodcast@gmail.com. And check out our website, toyrewindpodcast.com.
Yep, check those out. Be sure you follow us. We have some things we're going to be doing this week. Obviously, this is the week after Christmas. It's New Year's Eve, right? Am I correct on that? Yeah, it's New Year's Eve. The earliest that you can listen to this, New Year's Eve of 2020. So
party like it's 1999.
Oh my gosh. We have the chance to get out of 2020 and maybe get into 2021. Who knows if it's going to be any better, but it won't be 2020. So hopefully it will be. So if you're listening to this and it's New Year's Eve, go play some board games. This will be fun. Like I said, we're going to talk about some of these. We're going to have a lot of fun. Real quick though, we've got our fun for all question. This is mostly probably for Michael. But I know John will have some fun with it. I'll have a little fun with it, but it's mostly probably for Michael. So for the next 10 minutes, we're going to listen to Michael as he describes his dream car. And then John will probably have 3 minutes, and then I'll just tell you what mine is. It'll probably take like a minute. So Michael, what is your can you describe your dream car for us?
Yeah, it's all metal. So stainless steel. It has gold wing doors. And it was a big icon in the 1980s. So a DMC DeLorean is my dream car. I also have a backup. It's like a 1986 or 87 Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, which the Aero Coupes weren't produced as much because the back windows was a little bit different. But yeah, those were. I think the DeLorean has always been one of my favorites growing up. I remember just quick story. My grandfather Pop, he worked for Wagner Cadillac there in Tyler, the parks manager for them. And Mr. Wagner always in the early 80s actually he was always a Cadillac dealership, and he decided once to branch out with something else, and he brought in a DeLorean to try to sell the DeLorean, and it sat on the showroom floor forever. But I do remember it sitting there and looking at it and just drooling over it. So, but yeah, but then after that, he went back to straight Cadillacs, and that was it. So, but yeah, the DeLorean, that's my number one dream car to have.
All right, John.
All right, so mine would be, if I can describe it, it's black and gold, or gold trim, and it's got a Screaming Eagle on the front of it. So a 77 SE Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit.
That's very
cool. My one car that I would love to have more than anything. So
those are both really, really good. And I'm glad they're kind of retro-y. We are a rewind podcast, but mine's not much of a rewind. As much as I love the old stuff, it would be fun to drive them. My dream car that I would love to have is a 2003 or 2004. They're very close to the same, but an Audi TT Roadster. It would be flat black with black racing stripes off-centered on the driver's side, so that they just barely pop out there. So, but an Audi TT Roadster would be a lot of fun. So, Michael's got a DeLorean. John's got the Smokey the Bandit car. So yeah, I think we are good. And I think we're having some technical difficulties. I think we lost Michael for a moment. Wait to see if he pops back in. Oh no. Did we lose him completely, John?
Probably. We've been having trouble with his.
Yep, looks like he just popped out real quick. So, all right. Well, real quick, while we're waiting for him, I don't want to take up too much, but let's talk about. I mean, we just got through Christmas. I know we've got a bunch of stuff to kind of talk about, and as we're waiting for him to pop back in. So, John, give us some little ideas of some of the stuff that you picked up. I see your wall behind you is filled up a little bit more. So, what do you got?
Yeah. So for Christmas, I did get my shield to go along with my sword, which I'm so proud of that one. So happy
You
to have
got
it.
your new Zelda shield there.
Yep, the Highland shield. So nice to have that one. And then I got some more micro machines. That's one. Then I got a little military dude from Mom and Dad that was in my stocking. I did get Skeletor.
Oh, Skeletor from yeah.
That was in my stocking here. So
hey, Michael, see if you can flip your phone sideways. There you go. There we go. We got a good. We're just talking about John, what all he got for Christmas and stuff, kind of going over stuff.
yeah, just adding a few more things in there, and then what else was there? I think that's about it right now.
Anything big you got, Michael, to add to your collection?
I've got that. I got this inside Ryan inside Laney that I got from Jackson.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
that's a good one.
The cars version of Ryan Blaney, who's a NASCAR driver.
Yeah,
so, cool piece.
So yeah. I got a couple things. I got some extra Batman pops that are not Batman. They're the Popster pops that I haven't had for a little while. And then I think we all got our signs from Mom and Dad. Yeah. But mostly I got a bunch of Avalanche stuff. Sporty ball, actually sporty puck, I should say. So yeah, just some fun stuff that we got for Christmas. All right, let's dig into Parker Brothers. And let's talk about some board games. You got some history for us, Michael?
I do. How does my sound on the phone?
I think you're okay.
Okay. All right. So, let's see. The Parker Brothers. We're gonna go over Parker Brothers. We're talking about these board games. It's just got a little bit of history behind them. They've been around for quite a while. So, the Parker Brothers, it was founded by George S. Parker. He believed that games should be played for enjoyment and did not emphasize morals or values like some of the games at the time did at that time. When he was 16 years old, he created his first game called Banking in 1883. How far it is back in 1800?
1883, wow.
Yeah. So banking is a game where players borrow money from the bank and they try to grow that money by guessing how well they could do. The game included 160 cards, which foretells their failure or success. The game was so popular with his family and friends that his brother Charles urged him to publish it. He spent $40 to publish 500 copies of the game and sold all but 12 of them. And he earned $100 profit off of that. So Parker founded his game company shortly after that. It was George S. Parker Company in Salem, Massachusetts in 1883. When Charles joined the company in 1888, the name was changed to Parker Brothers.
Okay.
With him, his brother. And then in 1898, 10 years later, his other brother, his third brother, Edward H. Parker, joined the company. So it's kind of like us, 1, 2, 3. So, George designed most of the games himself and wrote all the rules. Many of the games were based off events of the day. They had a game called Klondike, which had to deal with the gold rush at the time. And then there was one called War in Cuba, which dealt with the Spanish-American War. So it was just a lot of things happening at that time that he just kind of turned into games for people to play. So in 1906, they published the game called Rook, and it became the best-selling game in the country. John's got a copy of that, a new version of it there.
Yeah.
And then during the Great Depression, Parker Brothers released a new board game named Monopoly in 1935. And they originally rejected it the year before in 1934. So they turned around and decided that, heck, we'll go ahead and publish it. And while other companies were going out of business at that time because of the Great Depression, Parker Brothers couldn't keep up with the demand of the game. So they were selling so many of it, they just couldn't keep up with it. I guess because nobody else had anything to do but sit around and play games during that time because everybody lost their jobs and stuff like that. Kind of what we've kind of seen this past year with this pandemic we've been going through. A lot of people at home being laid off or furloughed or whatever, and there's a lot of video games and stuff going on now too. So let's see, over the next several decades, Parker Brothers continued to grow, producing games such as Clue, Risk, Sorry, and eventually Trivial Pursuit, and many other games. Even after George's death in 1952, the company was still a family-owned until 1968 when General Mills purchased them. So I think we kind of mentioned that before, where General Mills had bought them. We talked about it in the Nerf episode we had in 1969. The Parker Brothers produced that Nerf ball. Also, from 1887 all the way through the late 70s, they produced puzzles too to go along with their board games. The late 1970s, Parker Brothers began to produce electronic versions of their board games. 1977, they actually had an electronic action figure called Rom the Space Knight, and it was kind of a robot thing that just had LED lights for his eyes, and it was just a robot thing. It really didn't do very well, but Marvel picked it up, did a comic series with it, and the comic series actually took off, but the action figure itself didn't. So, video games. They also did video games in the early 80s. They put out like Frogger. There was a Popeye game for Nintendo. Q*bert is another big one. Reactor, and then they also had the first video games for Star Wars. 1983, they established a book publishing branch, which featured Care Bears. We've said that before in one of our things, Care Bears and Shortcake. And then in 1985, General Mills merged Parker Brothers and Kenner, creating Kenner Parker Toys, which was later they were acquired by Tonka in 1987, which in turn was acquired by Hasbro in 1991. And then Hasbro also owned Milton Bradley, and the two were consolidated as Hasbro Games in 1998. So that's a little brief history of the company there.
Good thing they weren't like Milton Brothers Parker Boards or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a nice little history about Parker Brothers. The good thing is it's a good company. Obviously, it's been kind of switched around now that Hasbro has it. It's a couple different mergers there. But for the most part, they were still putting out some quality games. And we've never lost the big ones that everybody really loves to play. So even though, and there hasn't been huge changes, Monopoly has gone through quite a few. This is one of the games that we're going to talk about. Monopoly's gone through quite a few changes, but at the same time, you can still get the classic version of it. Whereas I know some companies don't keep their classic stuff around. They don't really sell it. They just want to push the new stuff. Monopoly's gone through many of them, changing. I mean, obviously, you can get Monopoly for almost any town that you live in. That's custom to the town. You can get it there's Zelda, there's Doctor Who, there's almost any kind of pop culture that you can get it. I know, John, you have the Zelda one, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I have.
I got several Zelda things.
Yeah, I think we have the Zelda one and the Doctor Who. The Doctor Who's the one that the kids don't touch, so I know that that's the one that I've got.
Yeah.
But the classic Monopoly is my favorite. So let's start with Monopoly. Start to talk about these. So, Michael, we have history. Let's touch up on the history of Monopoly real quick.
Yeah, actually, it was created in 1903 by Lizzie Magie. It was a game. It actually started out as a game to explain the single tax theory of Henry George. He was a politician at the time, and he had, I'm not a big political guy or anything, knows much about this, but he had a theory that a lot of people didn't like, and some people did. But she came up with this game to kind of explain what his idea was wrong and or good, however way you want to play it. It was intended to educate the negative aspects of concentrating land in private monopolies. It was actually called the Landlord's Game at first, and she self-published it beginning in 1906. It originally had two sets of rules. There was an anti-monopolist set, which all were rewarded when wealth was created, and then there was a monopolist set of rules to create monopolies and crush opponents. So we kind of know which one of those set of rules actually stuck after Parker Brothers took over.
Yeah.
So
Crush them all.
yeah, we're gonna crush them all. Yeah. So, but in 1932, a guy named Charles Darrow actually played the game at a friend's place, in which afterwards he went on to utilize and distribute the game himself under the name Monopoly. Parker Brothers soon bought the rights from Darrow, but then they found out that he wasn't the sole inventor of the game. And when they found out that Maggie, what's her first name, Lizzie Magie, was also the original thing, they actually buying her patent for the game for $500.
That's cool that they went back and found her though, and
yeah,
didn't just
so
try.
I don't know how they found out that he did. He must have said something to him, or she might have come up and found out that that guy sold her game or something. I don't know. So, but then Parker Brothers began marketing the game in 1935, and with the original version, which the still now still based on the streets of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Over the years, there've been some updates to the game, but basically it stayed the same. I think just the way the game looks and they've had some updates on the street names and stuff like that as well throughout the years. So, but the basic play of the game is the same.
So yeah, Monopoly is probably, I think we've talked about it. Monopoly is probably our favorite out of most of the games that we've played growing up. Between the three of us, I think we've played more games of Monopoly than anything, and I think it'd be fun to get together and play some more. I mean, it takes 6-7 hours for us to play a game of Monopoly, but hey, no big deal. They've gone through a lot of changes, as you kind of mentioned. They've got the, from just the money. They changed at one point where you had credit cards. Have y'all ever played that version of it?
Yeah, I think we had it. We had the credit card one.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier because you're not having to count out, but it's not as much fun to me. And then there was the millionaire version where basically the winner was whoever got to $1 million first. Instead of waiting to see who crushes who, it's just whoever got to $1 million first. So just a couple of the versions. Then obviously all the other ways that you can play, like Zelda or Doctor Who or your city ones, which are just kind of the same thing but customized boards. So lots of fun.
We've got a couple copies. It's we got Dogopoly, and then we got the Dale Earnhardt Monopoly, and there's I Love Lucy Monopoly is what we have as well.
Oh, there you go.
I know growing up, I don't know where we got the pieces from, but I still have a bag in there. It still has a lot of the I think it's from like a 1950s game version of it. It has the wooden houses and hotels and the smaller money, paper money in there as well.
Yeah, that's that real old ones. And this is one thing that I do remember, and the reason we're talking about board games today and it being New Year's Eve, I remember we always played board games on New Year's Eve, like leading up to the ball drop that we did. So yeah, this is why we're in it. And the Monopoly was the big one that we played. So
I remember having it out on the table for days.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're watching this, check out the icon or the thumbnail for this podcast, because I mean that's the three of us playing Monopoly. Actually, I think we kind of dissected it. You two are playing, and I'm helping or being the banker. I don't know. Maybe I'd already lost out at that point. Who knows? But yeah, it's just probably the icon out of all of these games that I enjoyed the most. I know Bryony doesn't like to play it because she says it takes too long. But
that was the point. Back then when we were younger, that was kind of the point. It's because you had time to kill. You didn't have constant, communication going on with everybody.
And your parents gave you the board game to play because they wanted to get you out of your hair for 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, why not? It's either a puzzle or it's a board game, and a board game takes up more people. So puzzles go by faster if there's more people doing them. So, all right. Anything else we want to add about Monopoly before we start talking about the second one?
Yeah, I just want to throw in. There's a piece of the history that I came across was with the British Secret Intelligence, where they back in World War II they redid it, and they were doing it over there, and then they started putting like things in for the prisoners of war to help them escape and stuff, and they had these fake charities going in and distributing them. So they'd have money or compass or maps, just other things that could help them escape in the boxes and be like, here. And it was all part of the British Secret Service trying to get people out.
Yeah, just the fact that they're using this game for multiple things, just really awesome. It gives it a nice little history and backstory. So, all right, let's move on to Trivial Pursuit. Let's talk about Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
So Michael's got to flip over and find that in his notes real quick.
Yeah, because I kind of put these in year order. So Trivial Pursuit is actually one of the newer games to
right
that we're going to talk about to Parker Brothers.
Sorry, I'm jumping around because I'm putting a certain one last.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
it's a game. Trivial Pursuit is pretty much a game in which winning is determined by the player's ability to answer general knowledge questions.
I'm not good at that.
You can roll dice and move your thing around, your game piece around, and you land on a square, and you have to answer a question. And if you get it right, you get a little pie piece to put in that. It was created in 1979 by Canadian Chris Haney and Scott Abbott. After actually they had a Scrabble game that they had going on, but they were missing some pieces, so they just tried to come up with their own game. So that's how they created this. Once they found out their pieces were missing for Scrabble, they decided to do this trivia type game, and they came up with the whole idea. They had a couple other guys help them out, John Haney and then Ed Warner. They completed the game, and it was released in 1981. The rights to the game were initially licensed to Selchow and Ryder in 1982, which I think is a Canadian. These are Canadian guys. I think that was a Canadian company. And then Parker Brothers actually bought the rights. Yeah, bought the rights in 1988. And then Hasbro actually bought the full rights in 2008. So it was licensed to Parker Brothers in '88, and then under Hasbro name, they bought the full rights in 2008. There was 30 million games produced between '83 and '85. That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah. And then 1993, it was named to the Games Hall of Fame. So with it being a pretty new game, and like I said, they created it in '79, and it didn't actually get released until 1981 to the public, and then by '93 it was in the Hall of Fame for games. So that was pretty quick, and there was a lot of those. I know it says general knowledge questions. There's there's a lot of questions on there that's not really general knowledge, but
Yeah, there's as I was doing kind of research on this one, trying to find things for it. There is approximately about 30 or 40 questions in there that are considered genius level questions. The funny thing is I was reading through this and it's not that it's necessarily genius level. It's just things that a lot of people just really don't know or don't remember. This is my favorite after reading through all of them. So I want to see if you guys know this. And this is one of the genius level questions. Who was Ross Perot's running mate in the 1992 presidential election?
I have no clue.
I can't remember.
His name or
I can picture him, but I can't remember his name.
His name, title, everything. Like it's a whole long thing. It's Vice Admiral James Bond Stockdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
I remember Stockdale, but I couldn't remember. I could see his face, but I couldn't think of who. Yeah.
It's things like that are in this that are like, it's not that people don't know it. It's just the amount of people that don't know it. So
yeah.
Probably people in Mensa probably knew that. Not a big deal, whatever. So Trivial Pursuit's another fun one for me. This is a good drinking game, if you ask me. Although it can go wrong very quickly if you don't know answers. Because we always played it to where you take a shot or you'd have to take a drink if you got any question wrong. Which, if you don't know a lot, can be very harmful very quickly. There are a couple of versions of this that I really like playing. And one of them is the 80s version, one of them is the 90s version, and one of them is the 2000s version. I'm pretty good at the 90s and the 2000s, and the 80s I've gotten better and better over the years. Just trying to remember things. Obviously being the when I was a little kid, so for 0 and 7 years old, but I've gotten pretty good at them. So what you got anything you want to add on this, John, with Trivial Pursuit?
No, it's not one that I play much of because of course it's a bunch of questions. It's one I kind of stay away from, so I don't have much on this one.
Michael's having some fun with his camera right now, so he's in and out. He's doing some stuff. So let's are you with us, Michael?
Say what?
Are you with us? Okay. So anything you want to add to Trivial Pursuit before we move on to this one?
No, I'm good with that. Yeah. That's
okay. Next one.
I had a few other things, but it was on my notes that disappeared when my internet kind of crashed on me. So.
All right. Next one I want to talk about is to me, I put it in the middle because it's like the worst game out of the list. It's still fun to play, but out of the list, it's the worst game. And it's Sorry. So let's talk about Sorry.
All right. So it's actually based on an ancient Indian game called Pachisi, I guess, how you say that. I don't know. In which players move their game pieces around the board in order to get them all on home before the other players do. It was created by William H. Story. He filed for a patent for this in 1929 in the UK, and then later in the US in 1930. It was adopted by Parker Brothers in 1934. That's pretty much what I've got on that game. So.
Yeah, there's not a lot to this. I mean, this is a game where you start out with some figures, you move around the board, you try to get figures home. Mm-hmm. It is a classic. It's fun to play, especially with little kids that don't get all of the details for harder games like Monopoly or don't know answers to Trivial Pursuit. And the next two games that we're going to talk about are pretty big. So when you don't have a lot of that, this is fun to play with kids. So probably why it's the worst out of the list, because I mean obviously we're adults, but as we were kids growing up, I mean I enjoyed playing it. It was fun, right? Quick game.
I think ours is the one that has the little bobber thing that you push down and pop it in the center of it, and the dice.
Was that Sorry or was that Trouble?
That's Trouble.
That's Trouble.
No, I don't know.
which is kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same thing. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. So I'll let you slide with that one, John.
Thought they were.
All right. Well, luckily we
They look similar, John. They do look similar.
We can move on from Sorry pretty quickly, and let's talk about Risk. This is another fun one that I remember. I remember who taught me how to play Risk. So, Michael, give us some history about Risk.
Okay. So Risk is a strategy game of diplomacy, conflict, and conquest. It was invented in 1957 by Albert Lamorisse. I believe he was French. And it was released in 1957 as, I can't say what the French title is. So in English, it's The Conquest of the World.
La
Is what it
Conquête
was.
du Monde.
Yeah, what you just said.
I think that's right.
Yeah, way to butcher that.
Du Monde.
It was actually bought by Parker Brothers and released in 1959 as Risk: The Continental Game, and then later as Risk: The Game of Global Domination. The standard version is played on a board depicting a political map of the world divided into 42 territories, which are grouped into 6 different continents. The goal of the game is to occupy everything or every territory and eliminate the other players. So this is another one that can be drawn out for a very long time
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do believe this is probably the second longest game that we ever played. Monopoly. I think we always got into Monopoly more, and we would make sure we finished games. But with this, I don't know if we always finished these games, which is maybe why. If we finished them, maybe they'd be the longest. I don't know.
Well,
but
I remember playing this at Nanny and Pop's a lot.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I
And
learned
maybe
how
the
to.
fact that we had to leave, so we couldn't finish.
We couldn't finish. I learned how to play from Nanny. I specifically know that, and I'm sure it was a game between all of us. But Nanny's who taught me how to play. I remember the little boxes that had all the figures in it or the pieces, and there was 6 or 8 different colors, and we all pick one. I tried to play with black as much as possible. I don't know why. Black was fun.
Mine were
Or
always
red.
green. I always had the green guys.
Michael did green. John did blue. I was always black or red, something like that. But I remember we played down there. So this was always fun. I liked this one. And actually, there's quite a few like iPad or mobile games that are kind of like this that I played for the longest. It's been a little while since I played them, but they're a lot of fun. Just taking over the world is fun. So, why not?
Yeah.
Anything we want to add to this one before we move on? So we're kind of just running through these and kind of giving a little history and everything on each one of them. So the last one, the last big game that we're going to talk about before we just kind of open up and maybe any little games that pop up is Clue. This is so much. I love this. Clue's for so many different reasons. The movie, the game, everything about it. The changing when they killed off people. We'll get into that. Michael, give us some history about Clue.
Okay, so Clue or Cluedo is the original name. Was invented by Anthony E. Pratt and originally named Murder. Shortly afterwards, Pratt and his wife Elva presented the game to Waddingtons, which is a kind of like Parker Brothers over in the UK, who immediately purchased the game and changed the name to Cluedo. Because of post-war shortages, the official launch of the game was postponed until 1949. So it was about 2 years later by the time they were able to publish it. Cluedo is the name of Clue and Ludo, which means I play, and I'm trying to remember what language that is in, because like I said, it was on my notes that I had. It's gone now. So, but anyway, so that's kind of where that name came from. It was at that time in 1949 when it was published. It was simultaneously licensed to Parker Brothers.
Oh, it's Latin.
It's Latin. Okay.
It's Latin.
It was licensed to Parker Brothers in the U.S., where it was renamed as Clue.
Probably a good call for them.
Yeah. The original concept was different from the actual published version that we know now that we know about. The original one had 10 characters and had 2 extra rooms, which were a gun room and a cellar. And then they had 9 weapons instead of the 6 that we know of. So,
Yeah. Some of those weapons are kind of interesting. The unused bomb, syringe. I'm not even going to try to
Yeah.
say the name of this one, but it was like a walking stick. The fire
walking stick, and there was a fireplace poker.
an
Yeah.
axe and poison.
The bomb, I feel like that's maybe killing multiple people, not just the one. So that might be why it's unused. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a game once you use them.
Let's see. Also, it was originally marketed as the Great New Detective Game, and a deal was made to license it as the Great New Sherlock Holmes Game, since it was originally from the UK. So they thought they would kind of Conan Doyle get with them and kind of I got his name backwards, but anyway, to get with his group there and make sure and see if they can connect the two together. So they kind of marketed it as the Great New Sherlock Holmes Game, like I just said. But there was no depictions of Sherlock appearing on the advertising or the box. They just said that was what it was. So from 1950 to the 60s, the game was marketed as the Great Detective Game. And then also it became known as Parker Brothers Detective Game. 1972 edition commercial that they had for it did show Holmes and Watson engaged in a game of Clue. And then 1979 commercials had a detective resembling a bumbling Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther series. And then 1986, the slogan added classic detective game, which lasted until the early 2000s. So just some marketing and slogans on that as well.
Yeah, this, like I said, this is one of my favorites just because of the gameplay was a lot of fun. Just being able to having to guess who killed who with what in what room, the cards that are in the middle of the board, and being able to run back and forth. And then you add on top of that the movie that was made that has multiple endings, depending on a little history about that. They filmed all of those endings and had no idea which one was going to be the official. That would be everybody knows. They knew that they were going to probably play all of them at the end of the DVD, or I guess back then it was VHS or whatever, that it was going to be there, but they didn't know which one was going to be the official. They were all just I don't know who the real murderer is, which is kind of cool that they kind of kept it that way.
Yeah. So if you went to the theater one day, you would see one ending, and you went later and you saw a different ending, didn't you?
Yeah. You could see different endings. Yes. So just a lot of fun. Like I said, the actors they had in that were just great. I love them. And just like the board game itself, it was just interesting. Now they've updated it. There's a few things that they've updated. Obviously, they've changed out some weapons. They've done some things there. They actually killed off Mrs. White a few years ago and retired her. Actually, I guess is what they said. They retired her. And
killed off.
Yeah, I don't remember. Who did they replace her with? They replaced her with somebody, but they were like, well, we're done with the maid, I guess. And so we're going to have just somebody else. And then there was another big change that I can't remember what it is at the top of my head now. But yeah, there's different versions of this too. I've seen I think it was a Rick and Morty version of it. There's, just different stuff. It's kind of like the Monopoly one. I don't think it's as widespread as Monopoly, but there's a lot of stuff in here that, they just do different versions. So it makes it a lot of fun. So John, what do you have on Clue? Do you remember anything about this game, playing it?
No, we still play it. We have one, but I think reading into it, I like the old style rules and kind of the gameplay that when I was reading, I was like, oh man, that would make the game go a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah.
Because you had to go to this rooms and actually see the cards, or you had to land on someone to be able to accuse them or whatnot.
Yeah, you had little tokens or something that you would use to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they're just trying to make things run a little faster. Again, this is the time where people have mental awareness of like 30 seconds before they want to do something else.
I also like the fact that they changed the lead pipe from actually using lead, and stopped using lead.
Is it a PVC pipe now? No
When
more
they
lead.
had 'em,
No more
The
lead.
original lead pipe was actually lead pipe. It was
Oh,
made
wow.
from
Yeah.
lead, so
Yeah.
The little characters, like all of them, the little pieces that I remember having in our board game, just a lot of fun. So, all right, those are our 5 games that we kind of want to talk about that we concentrated on: Monopoly, Clue, Trivial Pursuit, Sorry, and Risk. And obviously, we talked about Rook a little bit. But any other games that you guys remember growing up playing? I don't know. I without having to look, I wouldn't know if they were Parker Brothers or not. But whatever.
I'd have to go back and look to see if they were. But I mean, those are the ones I remember the most of, especially Monopoly. That
Yeah,
kind of took a lot of our time.
and if I vaguely remember, I don't know. I'm sure Nanny and Pop had a Monopoly game, but I vaguely remember like growing up, if we were at home, we were playing Monopoly, and if we went to
Weird.
Nanny and Pop's, we were playing Risk. Like I said, I'm sure they had a Monopoly set, and we probably played down there. But that just seemed to be like the division where we were at if we were going to play what we were going to play. So, which is probably why we played Monopoly on New Year's Eve more than anything, because we were always at home. Until you guys were out and left me there with Mom and Dad to eat all the shrimp and crab legs.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
No,
with me, so.
I think
They must have started shrimp and crab legs after I left.
Yeah, I think they did.
yeah, I think so. Trying to think if one other game I remember playing the most out of is Battleship, but I'm not sure. That may
Oh,
be
yeah,
a
Battleship.
Let's Google
Milton
it.
Bradley. I was trying to look that up. It's a part of the Hasbro family, so yeah, it's also a part of this group as well. So Battleship
Okay.
was one that I liked playing.
Yeah, that was
out
always
of
fun.
these that we've talked about, Monopoly and Risk were the 2 biggest games I played the most. We did have a Trivial Pursuit game in the 80s that we sat down. I played a little bit on it. I played Sorry a few times, but I don't remember ever playing Clue. Although it does, I would probably love playing it. I think
I think you
remember
really
ever
like it. I think you'd like
yeah.
playing that one a lot.
But I think we might have got that after I was out of the house or whatever and doing other things. But I think you guys played on it more than I. I don't remember playing it at all. But like I said, Sorry, I played once or twice before. But the biggest games for me is Monopoly and Risk are the 2 biggest ones that I enjoyed playing.
Yeah. What are you looking at, John?
Oh, I was pulling up some more of theirs because board games.
okay.
1951, they had Who?
Who? Oh, that's not Guess Who, just Who?
It's just Who. Yeah.
I don't know. Guess Who was always a fun one.
I don't
hey,
remember if Life. I'm trying to see if Life was.
Life. I don't
Going back
remember.
real quick to the Battleship, it is a Milton Bradley game. It was part of Hasbro when they combined the 2 together.
When they combine them.
Yeah, so it's a Milton Bradley game. It's not a Hasbro.
So we'll
game.
probably talk about that. I think we're
It's
gonna
not
do
a part
board
of
games.
Brothers.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do board games next year too. So we'll probably talk about Milton Bradley at that point. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about rankings real quick. We didn't talk about how we were gonna rank these. I think we should rank basically Milton or Parker Brothers. You got Milton Bradley in my head now. I think we should rank Parker Brothers and kind of these. When we talk about Parker Brothers, it's these 5-ish, 6-ish games, that we remember. So obviously they probably had some crappier games that we didn't like to play or anything new, but this is kind of the base 6 that we're kind of talking about. So
They're big. Yes, they're big. They're bigger games. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's let me see. Let me pull this up so we could talk about our rankings. So Michael, where would you put these Parker Brothers games at in your list?
Let's see. I'm looking at them. They would probably go just board games. I would put them right there, right with. I'll do number 10 with right above the WWF superstars, right in that area.
Okay, so number 10. So you're pushing down WWF superstars. WWF superstars. All right, that's a good placement. We have some really good toys on this list. So putting board games up here is going to be kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
All right, John. Let's look at yours. Here we go. Where would you put this?
As hard as you think, because I'm surprised he put it so low. Because we did have such a childhood with these games and stuff, and we still love playing games.
I just enjoyed those others more than I did the games.
Yeah.
But
I can understand why it's kind of hard to push them.
See, I'm a little bit different.
Yeah, we know you're weird.
Number one spot.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
I think board games were a big part of it. I remember that more than I do a lot of the toys. So.
All right, so
Okay.
I'm kind of in the middle here. I'm probably going to put mine. It's 7. I guess well, closer down to the little. I remember some of these other stuff a lot more and playing with them and whatnot. But they were a huge part of our childhood, and I don't anticipate these. Well, I don't know what all the stuff that we're going to talk about. I don't know if they'll stay in my top 10 for forever, but obviously they're going to drop out of Michael's pretty quick. But I would like to have them. I feel like they belong in the top 10 forever, but I don't know where they fall because as we keep adding more and more toys,
they'll be in mine for a while.
They'll be in John's for a while. Number 1 for John, number 10 for Michael, number 7 for me. I'm a little closer there in the middle. So, and these are just these 6. I mean, who knows? Once we start talking about next year, we talk about some more board games. Who knows where they're going to be at? So, all right. So that's our toy truce. That's our toy rankings and our history. We've talked about them a little bit. Now it's time to talk about some toy truce game. So right now.
As we're going into the game, I forgot to mention it earlier. Don't forget to play our game with the Bingo podcast.
Yeah.
So check us out on podcastbingo.com/toy rewind.
Nice segue there, John. All right. So what we're going to do is we've got 6 rounds of toy truths. Michael's back now. He can actually buzz in now. So I was a little worried about that for a second. I will need you guys to buzz in on Facebook instead of the comments here, so I can keep things together. So make sure you have your Facebook open. We've got 6 rounds, and right now ties are after the Motum episode. Since we didn't have it for last week, the scores are 30-30, so you're nice and tied up. So. Be sure you guys are ready to buzz in. So let's
let me get this enlarged. And okay. And everybody's ready. All right, here we go. Statement number 1. The original Monopoly diecast tokens were inspired by Daro's nieces who recommended varying nuts and bolts. Statement number 2. Most people learn to play Risk at around age 10. And statement number 3. Clue's Colonel Mustard was originally Colonel Yellow. John.
I'm going to say statement number 2 is wrong.
You're going to go with statement. You said statement number 2.
Oh.
That is incorrect. Michael. You have a chance to steal, which, if you remember, buzzing in and getting it right the first time gets you 2 points. Buzzing in or if you can steal, Michael, you can get a point, and John will lose a point.
Okay, so John, you said the second one is what you guessed. Yeah, that was wrong. Number 1 was wrong.
Number 1 was wrong. Can you tell me what was right about number 1? Instead of it being the Monopoly diecast tokens were inspired by Daro's nieces who recommended varying nuts and bolts.
I don't remember. I'm like,
you don't know what was wrong about this?
I knew the second 2 were right. So
so Daro's nieces originally had told him to use pieces from bracelets.
Gotcha.
Charm bracelets. So like charm
charm
pieces.
Okay.
That's what that's round one. So we're at Michael's at 31. And did you just message in, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't know what it was doing just a minute ago. Somehow it was on the wrong.
Okay.
think
I
somebody
just want to make
messaged
sure.
me. I sent it through Messenger for somebody else. So
All
somebody
right.
else.
So Michael's at 31. John is at 29. All right. Here we go. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Round two. In the 1970s, a Braille edition of Monopoly was created for the visually impaired. Risk was originally named La Conquête du Monde, or the Conquest of the World. I had to listen to that multiple times so that I can get it down. And Clue was originally named Murder at High Castle. And John, just by like seconds.
3.
3 was correct. Can you tell me what was correct about that?
It's just murder.
It's just murder. There's no high castle. I was hoping that Michael wouldn't say that in his.
I didn't get my check mark.
Oh, sorry.
Ding ding.
All right, here we go. Round 3. Score is 31-31. John's come back up with his 2 points there. All right, round 3. It's estimated that over 6 billion greenhouses and over 2 billion red hotels have been built for the Monopoly games. Statement 2. The total amount of money in a standard game of Monopoly is $22,560. And statement number 3. Clue was invented during the UK air raids of World War II. Michael.
It was the second one. I mean,
Yeah, it was the second one.
second
B.
one, yeah.
He goes, I mean,
Well, I think he was going to say B.
Yeah, it was B. Yeah.
All right. Do you know how much money is in the standard board game?
The total amount in the whole game, it's a lot more than that because 22,560, I think, is what you start off the game with, right?
So what I had listed as what's in there is 20,580.
20,000. Okay, now I got you.
So yeah. So all right.
You only start off
I think you start out with like 2,000 something. I think.
Yeah, 2,000 or something.
I don't remember.
So,
It's been a while since I actually played that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Round 4. Current score is Michael 33, John 31. All right. Round 4. Parker Brothers and Waddington's games each produced distinct versions of Clue up until 1992 when Hasbro purchased both companies. Statement number 2. In 1978, the Neiman Marcus Christmas catalog offered a chocolate version of the Monopoly priced at $1,600. And statement number 3. Mr. Green was originally a reverend, but Parker Brothers objected to a reverend being a suspect of murder, changing his career. And John.
1.
You said 1? Sorry, John. Michael.
It was the 3 because I don't remember him ever being a reverend.
Incorrect.
What was the second one? I don't remember what you said.
Let's go look at the second one. In 1978,
Oh,
the
the
Neiman
chocolate
Marcus
version,
Christmas catalog offered a chocolate version of the Monopoly game that was priced at $600. That's $1,600.
Okay.
That's one of those small details. I win. I get all the points. Okay. Yeah.
So when you
this-
start with it being chocolate and stuff, I was like, okay, maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah. So Mr. Green was a reverend originally,
Okay.
but Parker Brothers didn't think a reverend would be murdering people. So
You sure?
they wanted to make sure that was right. All right. So we're still at 33-31. Round 5. Here we go. Monopoly was initially rejected by Parker Brothers due to 52 different fundamental errors. Statement 2. In 2016, Hasbro killed off Mrs. White in favor of Dr. Orchid, which is a crazy name. Statement number 3. Risk has been inducted into 3 different Hall of Fames. John.
2.
So you don't think it was Dr. Orchid?
I don't think they killed her off because you said earlier they retired her.
Well, killed her off. I did say retired, or I did say killed her off first. If you remember right. It is not that one. So, Michael.
What was the first one? I think it's the first one, but let me.
I don't know if I should let you know what these are
That's just
again.
that you
I
can't
feel
read
like
them
it's
back.
cheating. I don't know. Monopoly was initially rejected by Parker Brothers due to 52 fundamental errors.
I'm gonna say that's it.
You're gonna say it was that one? I win again.
I don't know how many errors it had.
Risk has been inducted into 2 different Hall of Fames. The Games Magazine Hall of Fame and the Academy of Adventure Gaming Arts and Design Hall of Fame. Not 3. Sorry. I win again. I am the master of this game. Also, I know all the answers. All right, here we go. Round 6. We're still at 33-31. Okay.
31.
Statement number 1. Lizzie Maggie first developed the Monopoly game in 1903. Statement number 2. In 1990, Risk was released as a video game for the first time for the original NES. And statement number 3. Trivial Pursuit was jointly created by Chris Haney and Scott Abbott, Canadian newspaper editors, over a game of Scrabble in late 1979. Michael.
Second one.
The second one. So in 1990, Risk was not created as a video game for the original NES?
Yeah,
That's what you're saying?
Funny because the first one she didn't. I'm trying to think. She invented it, but she didn't name it Monopoly.
But
So-
you're saying this one, right?
Now let's go with the first one. Now that I'm thinking about it.
It was this one.
Stole it.
Oh, I should have given John the chance to steal that one. Dang it.
You did. You gave it to me.
So I
John
had it
gets it.
I should get
I
my
had
1
this one
point.
right the first time, wasn't I?
And he should
Yeah.
miss his 1 point.
Yes, yeah. I'm giving it to you, John. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's 32-32 now.
Yeah.
So what's wrong about that one?
The first time Risk was developed for a video game was in 1988 for the Commodore 64.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
So I
actually,
should have stuck with my original.
You should have.
If
You
he
should-
would have
you
named
should
it
have.
right, because actually she didn't.
yeah,
She
so
didn't
this
develop
is
Monopoly game.
this is one that I changed in the course of our game here, or in the course of our podcast here, because
I
Daro
thought
was
you
the
were-
one that named it and everything. But the way that the way it went, I decided to go with Lizzie because I don't know. She developed the game.
Yeah.
But she didn't name it Monopoly.
She didn't name it Monopoly, so this is a little
I
condescending or
didn't say
whatever.
name
but-
it. So
So
develop.
I thought you were trying to trick us again, and that's why I second guessed myself.
Yeah, this one was a pretty big one. So, oh well. We're at 32-32 after everything comes out. So Michael's shaking us. Stop shaking your head. No, Michael. I tricked you, and that's all that matters. All right. There's our game. I hope that all these little facts and fun tidbits that everybody enjoyed them. This has been a fun one to talk about because, like John mentioned, board games are such a big thing for our childhood. Not along with these toys, but if we were together, we were pretty much playing a board game of some sort for the most part. So, huge thing for us. So, anything you guys want to add to it before we take care of some shout outs?
Sit out and play with your kids. Board games still need to be a big part of it.
Yeah, go play some board games with your kids. We enjoy here in our house. We enjoy playing the Villainous board game because there's so many different characters, and you can switch it out. And how people play different characters is a lot different. So it's not like you're playing. Even though Monopoly is a lot of fun, it's not, and you can play different ways or whatever. But it's not the same thing. It's never the same game twice. So it can be a lot of fun. So I recommend checking that one out.
Just
All
all
right.
how the roll of dice rolls. Land.
Colorful and dice rolls.
It is. It is. So, all right. Well, with that, if you're looking for something geeky, nerdy, dorky, or just entertaining to watch or listen to, be sure you check out all of our fellow podcasters, Secondary Heroes, Totally Rad Movie Podcast, Movie Retakes, Nerd Portraits, STS Guys, Nerdy Curious, Three Beers and a Mic, the Four Dorksmen. That didn't sound right for a second. The Four Dorksmen, Average Nerd Podcast, and Geek Together. Those are all some pretty good ones. You can catch them on Twitch. They do lives a lot. Check them out on any podcasting, wherever you get your podcasts. And also, if you're looking for somebody to watch that's pretty regular, go check out Sully on Twitch, twitch.tv /CS Sully. Next week we've got a pretty good episode coming up. We're talking about another big line of toys, and a lot of things that may be changing here around the Toy Rewind podcast. So be sure you give that a go. And I want to say I hope everybody's enjoyed the first 22 episodes of Toy Rewind. This is our last one for 2020. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and Nerds Unite. So what do you guys have? Anything else before we sign out?
I think you were trying to say the Fork Dormans.
The
Fork Dormans.
Fork Dormans. There you go.
No, I've this year it's been pretty fun. I'm looking forward to next year with more toy lines coming. We got some big ones coming down the line in the next few months, and so yeah, really, really looking forward to what's coming up for us. So,
John,
sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun getting 2020. I'll be happy to get it behind us. We're gonna have a lot of fun in 2021, and like I said, some changes for the Toy Rewind podcast, just as we've been learning, doing things. But I don't think you'll be losing out on anything at this point. So I guess with that, and on behalf of the Brothers Newland here at the Toy Rewind podcast, play on, and we'll see you in 2021.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.